like, I think people need to think about systems just in general. It's really easy to get to this point where you are just so overworked because you're almost doing everything manually. Putting in automation and systems earlier, identifying where the bottlenecks in your business are and putting in products for them.
I love bookkeeping.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast. My name is Hannah Robinson.
And I'm Melissa Honan.
And thank you for listening. Today, we have a special treat for you guys. We are interviewing Jimmy Rose with Content Snare. Jimmy is the co-founder of Content Snare, and that is a software platform that helps bookkeepers collect information and documents from clients. He was once an automation engineer, and his new priority is to help business owners regain their lives and be more productive and get more done in less time. Just a little bit of background about Jimmy is that he has been building software since 2009. He's built 3 different products and sold the others to focus on Content Snare. And over the last 6 months, he really noticed that bookkeepers started signing up for Content Snare and he made the decision to focus in on this industry. And he also ran a digital marketing and web design agency for 4 years. So everybody, welcome to the show, Jimmy Rose. Jimmy, thank you for coming on the show.
Hannah and Melissa, it's really cool to be here. So far, I'm really loving speaking to the bookkeeping audience. It's quite receptive to like automation and productivity. So yeah, really awesome to be here.
That's amazing. So first of all, obviously accent, where are you currently located and where are you from?
I'm in Brisbane, Australia, and it's currently 7 a.m.
Oh, my goodness.
Nice and early, which is...
Wow.
It's totally normal. I feel like I'm speaking to somebody at 7 a.m. every day these days. Just the downside of being in Australia and speaking to people in Eastern time zone in the US.
Well, thank you so much for coming on so early. So I guess my first question is just from your background. You ran a digital marketing and web design agency, and then you changed directions. What happened? What made you want to change?
I'd almost say it was the other way. So we were software from the beginning. We built our first software product in like you said, like 2009, 2010, just kind of when it launched. And then it's funny, like you don't really need to network and meet real life people to build software. And then so we never really did. It was 100% online business. And then at some point, we started networking in Brisbane here locally. And as soon as you mentioned software, like a lot of people don't really understand what you mean. And they just assumed we like built websites and stuff like that. And they'd start complaining to us about our their web designers and all the problems they had. And we went, wait, we can probably build better websites than these people they're complaining about. So that's how our web design agency and then eventually marketing started, is because everyone was complaining about their web designer. And it just turned out that, that was kind of a distraction for 4 years, to be honest. Like we probably should have just stayed the course and kept building products, although lots of good stuff came out of that, like the ideas for products and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a complete waste of time, but yeah, that's the story.
Yeah. So you said that you've noticed that bookkeepers started signing up a lot for Content Snare. And we do have a group of students in Australia. What's been the biggest pain point you hear from bookkeepers, what they need from you?
Well, interestingly, it's basically almost the same as this problem that we originally designed Content Snare for web designers and digital marketing agencies because we knew they had a problem chasing information, like chasing clients for information. So in the case of websites, that's like website content, images, things you need to build the website for the client, and marketing is pretty similar. You need images and that kind of thing. And like they just started signing up. We didn't really target bookkeepers at first because we did I've got bookkeepers for years, and I've had bookkeepers for years, and they don't really have much trouble getting information from me. But after speaking to them, it turns out I'm one of their best clients. So I guess I couldn't really join the dots and see the problem. But after speaking to lots more bookkeepers, I found out that they also chase clients constantly for information, whether that's so the pain points, I would say, like it is really just the wasted time chasing clients. So not being able to continue work because you're waiting on a document or like something from them that they won't upload, so you can't close out, a period, or end of year stuff, or even onboarding, like trying to bring on a new client and just not having the information you need to bring them on. So I'd say that's the use cases that bookkeepers are using Content Snare for, are client onboarding, monthly queries, it might be quarterly. I don't know how you guys operate in the US, but there's definitely quarterly stuff people need here in Australia, and then end of year information. So that's kind of what people use it for.
Well, and from what I can understand, it sounds like Content Snare almost kind of cuts the middleman when it comes to keeping things organized. And I think it's important in any business, but when you're dealing with other people's financials, God, it's the utmost important. What's something, when you've started this, is there something that you've kind of changed along the way as you've been working with more and more bookkeepers?
Yes, definitely. I just wanted to touch on something quickly, if it's okay.
Sure,
You mentioned organized, and it's early in the morning for me, so I focused on chasing clients as the main problem. You just said organization, and I went, of course, because that's the other big thing is when you do get information back from clients, it'll be across like 20 emails, and and you've got different attachments to different emails. They've answered questions in line in like blue text, and you've got to try and like organize that all together, and that's a huge waste of time. So that's the other big pain point that I guess Content Snare helps with. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, what's changed with bookkeepers? I would say the main thing is, look, the thing that comes straight to my mind is we added a table field. So before, people could really just collect anything that was like typed information. So, imagine if you're collecting website content, you want your client to type in words basically on what is going to be on their website. But with bookkeepers, obviously that's not such a major thing. So they're getting clients to answer smaller questions, upload documents, so a bit more control over documents. Before, it was mostly images that web designers were collecting. With bookkeeping, it's like, better control and saying we need a PDF or a docx for this particular file. So like better controls over what files people can upload to certain questions. Bit more granular control over like rejection. So we have this facility where you can like reject a file, for example, and it'll just tell your client that some changes are required. And if you're getting 20 bank statements or something, from a large backdated client, and they've uploaded 2 of those that are wrong, you only want to reject 2 of them rather than the whole 20, which is what you had to do before. So that was a new feature. But I think the biggest one is tables. So, when you're collecting any kind of tabular information like queries, monthly queries for transactions, or I don't know, like a list of directors, company directors or something, like all this is, the table was really prioritized because of bookkeepers and accountants, because I can see how, and a lot of what we're planning has changed too, right? Like I'd love to be able to automatically suck uncategorized transactions into that table and then have them be categorized from Content Snare. So that's kind of it's more like our direction. Only a couple of things have changed in the direction of the product, because there's surprisingly a lot of overlap between the problems that these 2 audiences have.
And to be honest, as somebody that uses your product, so for full transparency, Bookkeeping for Painters is a client of Content Snare. And it was actually like just transformational for us when it came to onboarding new clients. And it was so easy to set up, which is why I was so just astounded that you didn't just automatically target bookkeepers from the beginning. And like, this product wasn't made for bookkeepers, because it really seems like it. I feel like it was really just like plug and play, which was really important for me at the time. And so when I spoke to you last, I said that, I wanted you to come on and just talk about your recommendations for new bookkeepers, because, this might not be, this isn't a sponsored episode. This doesn't have to be around Content Snare. And I know that we talked originally that we wanted to talk about solutions, right? For new bookkeepers. That could be Content Snare. I really wish I would have had that from the beginning. It would have saved so much time. But could you tell us about what you were telling me before? If you had to choose one thing that you would want to tell new bookkeepers about that would make their lives easier, that's not Content Snare, what would your recommendation be?
It sounds like there was something I said to you that I need to say again that I completely forget. But and feel free to prompt me if you want to go into it. But I mean, for me, the main thing I think people need to think about systems just in general earlier, because when this is in marketing agencies as well, it's really easy to get to this point where you are just so overworked because you're almost doing everything manually, and it doesn't take many clients to get there. So putting in automation and systems earlier, like for example, one product I bang on about all the time is Zapier. Zapier is just like a workflow automation product that, you definitely don't need to learn that from day one. And so, because I know if you're not technical, it can be really overwhelming to learn. But I guess to me, it's just knowing that there are, identifying where the bottlenecks in your business are and putting in products for them. When you first start out, collecting information from clients is not going to be a problem. And in fact, using something like Content Snare from day one is probably not a good idea because you won't have worked out any systems yet. So that, a lot of people try to put in systems before they've actually done the process manually. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. It doesn't work out well. Generally, you've got to have a bit of an idea of what the process is going to look like before you put in systems. Is that kind of along the lines of what you're looking for, Melissa?
That is not at all what we were talking about. Although you did mention Zapier. Originally, you had a tech stack recommendation for easy hacks on making efficiency better. And I cannot remember for the life of me. We'll have to edit part of this out maybe, or just let people know that I'm a mess. Is that ringing any bells at all?
No, but I don't know. I really enjoy raw podcasts. We have stuff like this on my podcast all the time and just kind of let it ride. But I'm actually trying to see if we've had this chat somewhere, but
it's the key. I can't remember the name of it. The key hack where you can create shortcuts for copying and pasting longer pieces of text. Yes,
I do remember this now. This is something, I guess, this applies to any business owner and almost any individual. And it's one of my favorite products pretty much ever made, because it's the kind of thing that can absolutely blow people's minds when they hear about it for the first time.
It blew my mind enough to completely forget what it's called. But...
Yes, it's called TextExpander. And so... I gotta say, it's not the only product that does what this is. It's just, it does text expansion and it's called TextExpander. So it's probably what it's got going for it. Oh my gosh. This is one that I think pretty much anyone can use, in any business. And what it does is create small little shortcuts on your, keyboard for basically anything. So for example, I have lots of links set up in there. So if I need to send my website and an email to someone, I have a little naming convention. So CS for Content Snare and then W for website. So I go .csw, and it'll actually delete what I just typed, so the .csw, and then replace it with the URL that I put into TextExpander. So, https://contentsnare.com. So it's a little shortcut for typing longer things. So that's a really small example. I have those kind of shortcuts for all kinds of links. So .cstw for Twitter, .li is my LinkedIn. So whenever I need to send these links to people, it's all just there. I don't need to go and go to LinkedIn, go to my profile, copy it, put it in. So that's the real time saving there. It's not so much the time saved in the typing, which is obviously a little bit. It's going to have to look things up and paste it somewhere. My booking link is another great example. I have different booking links. So one's for an onboarding call with Content Snare, one's an automation consult. And I have these all on .b for booking, .bcs. or .bob for onboarding, .bac for automation consult. So these are all links I've got in there. But on the opposite end of this, so these are all like small, simple things. On the opposite end of this, you can actually put in large blocks of text. So like an entire email, for example. So if there are certain emails that you're probably going to send to lots of clients, like a onboarding email for a new client, where it's just welcoming them to your practice and outlining what the next steps are, whatever it is. You can put all of that into TextExpander and have it ready as a template. Now, obviously, a lot of email systems have templates built in. The difference with TextExpander is that you can use this anywhere. So if you ever need to write that same email in a message, some other kind of messaging app or LinkedIn, whatever it is, you've got that available to you. As long as you're on the same, on your computer, you can do it anywhere. And if you could put placeholders in the email too, so you might have their name and company name. And so when you type in the shortcut, it'll actually pop up a box on your screen where you can complete those different bits of information, and then it'll drop it all into your email editor. So this thing saves me so much time, and I could talk about all the different ways we use it, but hopefully that gives people a bit of an example on what kind of stuff we do now.
Today's show is brought to you by Keeper, the one app to run your bookkeeping business. Keeper helps you get faster client responses with your own custom branded QuickBooks integrated client portal. Finally, you can say goodbye to those pesky spreadsheets full of uncategorized transactions. Keeper also helps you catch those embarrassing coding errors before your clients do. And with Keeper, you can generate beautiful custom reports that your clients will absolutely love to read. To find out more, go to keeper.app. That's keeper.app. Mention I Love Bookkeeping to get 20% off your first 3 months. Again, go to keeper.app to find out more. Thank you for listening. So I have a good question. When you were starting and I absolutely hate the word journey, but I'm going to say the word journey. When you were starting your journey with your business, what is something tech-wise that really helped you out?
Oh, interesting. I didn't discover TextExpander for a long way in, so that one's scrapped. But I mean, I wish I did. I wish I was using that earlier. I don't know. I think, again, I don't know. It's just specific tech product is never going to fix anything. It's more about the system you implement with it. To me, the number one thing everyone needs is a really good getting things done system. So some kind of to-do list. That might be a full-blown project management system like Monday or Teamwork, and you could sign up for that when it's just you in preparation for having a team, so then you don't need to change systems later. Or you can just go simple, like Todoist or, like Trello. A lot of people use Trello. I think that's the most important thing, but then actually having a system on how that works, and actually, using it. A lot of people have these kind of systems and then default to paper or whatever. But, actually, it's become an absolute, Bible for me. If I need to know, if I'm sitting there during the day, I'm like, what should I do next? I just by default open my to-do list. And if I have an idea for something I need to do during the day or when even on the weekends, I open that app, I put the task in this triage list. So that's like a system I have this triage list. And then on Monday, I'll triage all those tasks into whatever priority they need to be. So some of them will get buried way down the bottom of the list. They're not that important. And they might even be put on a completely separate list. That's I'd say the main thing. I
think you said something really profound earlier about your product not being maybe necessarily of utmost importance to people who don't have their processes in. And I think you just kind of touched on that again. I think it's such a good point. Don't run before you walk. So tech-wise, and I'm just kind of going off the beat here. As far as processes go, I know that's a massive pain point for a lot of our students and a lot of people listening is implementing processes and getting those in place. Is there a tech product that you use for that?
Yeah, so mostly we just write out the processes. It depends. It depends if there's a process that has a clear delineation of steps and you actually want every step to be like ticked off. So this is like, if it's just you forward thinking about when you've got someone helping you with this process, do you want that person to tick off every little thing to make sure it's done? If so, I would use a subtask. So most project management systems, you can put a task in like, I don't know, do the monthly work for XYZ company, but then you can have subtasks within that, which might be like, I don't know, gather their information from this product and then go over here and put some information in, whatever. And actually having each one of those be ticked off as a task. Now, in some systems, you can go multi-layers deep as well. And you could have inside each of one of those tasks, you could have even smaller tasks. So that's probably what that's, it depends how much, like I said, if you need them all to be ticked off. For the most part, we're actually just writing out processes in Google Docs and using a product like Loom or any other video recording tool as a kind of initial training for our staff on what the process is, so they can read the document. That's fluid. We can add more things in over time, and they can kind of just go through that. I guess I trust them to not need to tick off every individual item. And then obviously they've got the video there if they need a refresher for something. I even go back to my own videos sometimes because it'll be like, I forgot how to do something and I recorded it a while ago and I want to see how I did it.
I think that's so important. What you said about consistency, because I think that new business owners starting off, they do get wrapped around like, oh, I need to pick the perfect CRM and then I need to write out the perfect process that has every single step laid out. And if I don't have that, then I can't hire anybody. But having somebody in your position as a successful business owner, just saying, hey, just do it and just stick to it, I think is really important. Which is where like my confession that I don't use our CRM. I've been really bad about it lately. But I do have my own system, which is literally just the task section in Gmail. And I do the same thing as you, Jimmy, which is just putting all the tasks right there in a to-do list in my inbox. And then on Monday, I prioritize it. And anytime I'm like, okay, what do I do next? I just go there and I go straight to it. And that's terrible. Maybe I shouldn't say this as somebody that helped record OPP on processes. And I'm supposed to have all these like in-depth, well built out processes. And we do. I just don't personally use them because I do like to keep it simple. And I don't think it's necessary to get bogged down by that and not be able to move forward. So I feel like if new business owners are getting stressed out that they don't have everything perfect and in place, basically giving permission to say like, just do your best, write it down in a Google document. It does not have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get done, I think is really important. If we need to be that person to validate their inability to get fancy processes written down.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. And I think you're right that a lot of people can get bogged down in different stuff that they probably shouldn't get bogged down in. And the beauty of a Google Doc is that you can update it on the fly, right? Because chances are you're not going to get everything right the first time. I think the easiest way to create a process is actually do it and just do what your normal process is and write down every step as you go through it. And maybe refer to it the next couple of times you do it and see if there's any extra stuff you need to add in. And then because you've got that fluid, like the document system makes it way easier to edit and adapt. And then you can always move that to a more rigid system and create a video or something later on.
That is made me think of, I don't know who this is. So everybody here needs to fact check me. But I remember hearing something about the first process you should write down is how to make a sandwich, because it'll really make you think about what goes into your processes. Because you think, okay, if I'm going to teach somebody how to make a sandwich, whatever, grab the bread, put the bread down, but you don't have to think about, okay, well, you actually need 2 slices of bread. Okay, well, you need to get a plate first. Okay, are you going to need a knife to spread the mayonnaise, like whatever it might be. But it was a really great exercise to think, where do you go to find the plate? Where is the bread kept? Kind of a thing.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I love that. That's a really good example. And I may borrow that.
Yeah. It's not mine at all. I have no idea where it came from either. My brain is just an insane place where ideas go to die and be forgotten and brought up casually in conversations where they don't necessarily make sense. But I do want to circle back around to TextExpander real quick and how it can be implemented for bookkeeping companies specifically. But I don't know if anybody else does this, but this happened to me today. Again, small inefficiencies that just add up. Why can I never find my Gusto referral link? Or any referral link that I need to send to clients?
That's a great example.
Oh my gosh. And so I've stopped myself from pulling up TextExpander while we're recording this podcast, but that is the first thing I'm going to do when I get off of here is get TextExpander, put my Gusto link in there. But if you think about all of the applications, something like that for a bookkeeping firm, where are all of the things that you need like at a touch of a button that aren't at a touch of a button? I think that is such a great, I'm going to remember the name now.
Yeah, I just think about text expansion is what it is. I don't know if that's going to help at all, but yeah. So like it is really hard to sit down and go, okay, what are all the things that I'm going to need in the future, right? Like I don't expect people to be able to do that, and because TextExpander, like the process is something that's going to build up over time. You know, I'm always adding new stuff in there. For example, you know, I had to put in the hex code color. You know, into like the colors we use for our business, I had to put them into, I think it was Canva or some tool, right? I had to put the colors in. So now I've got hex codes. Our branding colors are now one of the things, right? So I don't know if many bookkeepers know what a hex code is, but that's like all
right. But Jimmy, why didn't you just memorize it like I did? Because our color is EBC17D.
Oh my Lord.
But it could be, or C08319. But no, TextExpander would have made a hell of a lot more sense than me spending the time to memorize.
Or
those.
Melissa, you could just do what I do and copy and paste your Canva colors into your Notes app, because that's what I do.
Right. And that's what I used to do. So everything used to go into the Notes app, but now I can put it in TextExpander. So it's like that extra step where I don't have to go and look it up. So like that, another great example, it's just like something you might not even think of. And I didn't think of it for a long time until I found myself a couple of times. I was like, God damn it. I'm like sick of going and looking up my hex codes and putting them in apps, because it had to happen a bunch of times in a row. And so now it's all there. Like even like links, like I go on podcasts, for example, and someone will be like, can you send me a bio and a headshot? So now I've got a shortcut for my headshot, like Dropbox link and my bio. And then I might edit it and adapt. Like you can edit things after it automatically pastes in. So like I might drop in my bio and then make some changes that are relevant for whatever that bio is for. You know, links to, referral things like you were talking about, that's an absolute perfect example. Also links to where you might want to send your customer to write a review of your business at the end of working with them or in the middle of working with them. So lots of review links. I will say like links are probably the biggest thing I have in my TextExpander by far. Like there's so many links. I'm just actually looking through it now and seeing what else is in there. Like I even have little emojis that I use regularly as shortcuts in there as well. So I don't have
instructions on how to add an accountant user to QuickBooks Online.
Boom. Yep. Perfect.
Man.
Like anything you're using regularly, and these will build up over time because you're like, oh, this is like the third time today I've done this thing. I should probably put it in TextExpander. So, yeah, I don't know, like I wouldn't burden yourself with sitting down and trying to think of everything right away. But we could start with business names, phone numbers, emails, links, important links. And that's probably where I would start. And then, yeah, starting with those like emails that you might send regularly to customers.
Well, I have one more. I got one more question before we wrap this up. And I'm turning the direction back on the Content Snare. When I was looking you guys up, one thing that really stood out to me is it sounds like your product really helps business owners build and maintain relationships with their clients. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like it's one of the main things it does is simplify, but also automates your reminders and your responses and things like that. Why? I guess I'm just curious as to why was that so important? as a part of your software. And is that something that you learned from experience, or is that something that you've just found that people really need in order to kind of maintain that line of contact between business owner and client?
Yeah, so I'd almost say that it's more about not destroying relationships than it is building better ones. I mean, there is both of it because, when
but it makes sense.
Yeah, like a lot of people really dislike chasing their customers, right? They don't want to send yet another follow-up email and that kind of thing. And sometimes that means they won't send emails at all because they don't want to feel like that pushy person. And so that's not necessarily a relationships thing. That's like, well, it could be, because then you're not going to have the information to do the work. And then the client's going to go, why is the work not done? And you're like, but you didn't send the things. Like, and you don't end up in these situations when you've got an app that's just kind of handling it. And in a way, depending on which emails you send out from Content Snare, you can make them personal, but you can make them impersonal as well. And that to some people is a positive. Like, people like to do things differently, but having like an app, like, it's pretty obvious. If you've got like a designed email with a button in it, you clearly didn't send that from Outlook. So it's like, yeah.
That is I have to just say that is literally what I do, because if anything, I get to blame Content Snare now. And it's fantastic. I'm like, oh, no. I don't want to bother you. It's Content Snare. It's automatic. There's nothing I could do about it. But why haven't you done it? That's a great question.
Wait, why haven't I done what?
No, why hasn't the client done whatever that we're asking? Yeah. So Perfect. It's like you get to nag my clients for me now.
Yes. So that is definitely a thing that a lot of people like. Some people turn off those designed emails because then it kind of looks like it's actually coming from you and you've typed it out. And you might do that with like the more urgent emails where it's kind of like, hey, we've only got 3 days remaining and we haven't received anything yet. But yeah, so that's what I see it more of as like trying to maintain relationships rather than like making them better. But one thing I have heard from several customers is that their clients have really enjoyed using the product and it's made their life easier. And like, I don't expect that every one of your clients is going to think that, because, some people just be like, oh, I don't want to have to fill out this information. You're always going to have those people. But there are people who will have worked with other businesses before and notice that, oh, wow, like this is like your process has made it so much easier for me. And I appreciate that. So in that way, I think it can create better relationships. But yeah, otherwise I see it more as like keeping things moving and like not sabotaging relationships.
Well, in turn, that builds relationships, because ultimately I think people really, and I think clients really enjoy when things are simplified and made easier for them.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, some people may not like explicitly say it to you, but I think most people will appreciate it.
I have to say that people do say that to me all the time. To kind of go into like our tech stack is when a client signs our proposal, we have a Zap set up that within less than 60 seconds, it sends an invitation for self-onboarding through Content Snare. And so, they can sign their proposal and then immediately start self-onboarding. Whereas I used to have to waitlist people 2, 3, 6, up to 12 weeks because we were onboarding people in person on Zoom. And now they can start their onboarding on their own. And we can get them and their information faster and get them into cleanup faster. And it has, I don't have an exact number. I'm going to make this up. Like we have like 300% more happiness. I don't know, but we've been able to close more sales that way, right? Because at a certain time, at a certain point, you only have so much time in the day, but if they can start working through it faster, to them, it's a better customer experience. They don't have to wait 4 weeks to meet with somebody in person to answer those questions. And so I get tons of great feedback about it. And like I said, I wish we had implemented it a lot sooner. But that being said, I mean, for new companies, that aren't at that point, you can, implement it sooner, and maybe your company will grow a lot faster and you'll have a lot less headaches than we did.
Wow, Melissa, I think I'm going to have to get you on to do a video case study at some point. That was amazing. Thank you.
Well, we have so enjoyed having you here today. And thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us all about Content Snare, but also giving us your input on tech stack, because I know everybody really values your input. So Jimmy, thank you so much for coming to the show today. We hope that you had a good time. Thank you everybody for listening to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast. If you have questions and any more questions for Jimmy or about Content Snare, please shoot us an email at success@ilovebookkeeping.com. Again, that is success@ilovebookkeeping.com. My name is Hannah Robinson.
And I'm Melissa Honan.
And thank you for listening to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life, you want to grow that biz, it's not as hard as it looks.